Hello, Marty. I hope that you are doing well. It's Thursday. So, oh boy, this is a disaster. It's kind of early. It's like 6:18. Is that what that says? Yeah, 6:18. It's kind of normal, but and since it's Thursday, I'm hoping it's Thursday because that's what I planned today is Thursday. I'm not quite sure. Seems like it's been chaotic. I had conferences Monday night. Tuesday night, I don't know what I had, but I remember having something Tuesday night. And then yesterday I was gone for a school function. And then today. But we'll get going because this video might get kind of long today. So I want to get long. And my phone didn't charge last night. And I got to record the other kids' video. So, but before we get going here, I got to bring up this. Livestock here. We look at the markets from yesterday. I gotta see where I found. So yesterday, I don't know if you made any decisions here, but I'm trying to find where I put. I have so many things hanging on the wall here because students are not turning things in. So if we think about it here, what did they, it's gotta be somewhere here. I'm still talking, I'm trying to find our sheet from the other day. Let's go ahead and take a look and see. Dang, I don't know where that sheet went. Is it in my livestock? Got so much stuff here. I'm still here. I'm just trying to find something for us. Right there. Okay. Not quite sure where it's at here. But anyways, let's take a look at the market. I'm trying to find my our sheet that we keep track of. I know I wrote it on a big one the other day, but I took it off that and put it on a sheet so I can keep track. So, remember we're using live cattle and lean hogs here. Well, it's at 128.3, so I'm not quite sure when we did it on Tuesday what it was. I think hogs has gone down. Looks like hogs have gone down since the last time. So, take a look at your contracts. Make sure you're writing the price down for each day. So you can go ahead and work with the other set of kids. I mean, granted, they're doing grain, but it's the same concept. So you guys can work together if you're kind of not understanding. And so, plus when I come over there next week, we will get this we can get it fixed up. But I gotta find, because I kept track, I gotta find where I put your sheet. I have the grain one right here. I just gotta find where I put that one. It's somewhere in here. Not that my room's a mess, it just has a lot of clutter in it. That's all. So, but anyhow, keep track. If you're selling or buying, if you're selling off your contracts of livestock, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, we're going to get into it so that I can get this video uploaded. Sometimes the longer the video, the longer it uptakes. All right. So like I said, on Thursdays and Fridays for a while, we're going to talk about livestock judging, how to select animals for your herd. We are going to start out with breeding because more than likely that's what you're selecting for your herd. I will admit selecting market animals is a lot easier because you're mainly looking for muscle, but when it comes to breeding animals, breeding cattle, so when we're talking about breeding cattle, we're talking about cows and bulls, okay? That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about steers, we're not talking about market heifers, we are talking about cattle that you're gonna bring into your herd and that you are going to use to maybe replace some, or to start some, or add to, because you never know when it comes to breeding. So when it comes to breeding cattle, no matter what breed that you use, if it's Shorthorn, if it's Hereford, if it's Angus. These 5 right here are what you're going to be looking for. They're also in order of in importance, is that functionality is the most important thing in breeding cattle. And we're going to kind of get into functionality today, so that once we get down to these right here, we can join a couple of them. But today we're just going to focus on functionality of a breeding animal, okay? So is it going to be functional in the sense of, you know, it's a lot easier. I have examples here. So we're just I might as well just jump right in. So functionality means, let's see if I can get this to go here. So functionality means the structural correctness of the animal. So what that means is the animal sound and is it structurally correct? Because if there are some complications or some defects, you know, the cow might not be able to give birth correctly. Okay, the cow can pass those traits onto their offspring, so they're constantly, you know, you're not getting a structurally correct animal. You're going to have animals that, you know, are short-bodied. They're not very tall. They can't handle maybe birthing very much. Their lifespan's not very well. So we're going to look at structural correctness. We're also going to look at optimal rib shape and design. We want the depth of rib and we want the spring of rib. Okay? So, you know, when you think about it, the spring of rib is when you look at the spring of rib is when you're looking from behind, you know, do the ribs come out? You want that spring of ribs, or are they coming straight down? Okay? And of course the shape of the ribs, making sure they're correct. The depth of, and we're looking at that kind of stuff is because we also need to look when they pass those traits off to maybe a bull, which becomes a steer. Okay, we're getting low. We better go in low battery mode here. Otherwise, we're gonna go dead here. We're gonna look at some of that stuff because, you know, depth of ribs. You know, people like to that. You got those nice big ribs. We're also looking at, you know, when it's producing its market animal. So when we take a bull and we turn it into a steer, you still need some of that correctness. You still need some of that rib so that market steer can become a quality steer, which when they go to take it to harvest, that it's getting the money that it deserves and the most product out of that steer. So first thing that we're going to look at when we're looking here is structural correctness. Okay, so when we look at why doesn't that just go? When we look at structural correctness here, so we have I'm apologizing for this. It's just been one of those days. I'm over here. There we go. I left my MacBook at home, so I'm using my other computer. So when we look at structural correctness here, so this is a heifer. This is a red Angus, okay? Red Angus, because of the, you know, has this triangle-shaped head. Kind of shows me that this is an Angus, okay? So what we're looking for here, if we look across the back, so this is what we want. We're looking for this, you see this line right here? When we have the point, the shoulder point leads into the hooks, and then it leads into the pins. Should be a nice straight line, okay? So when all of this is lined up, and what this is right in here, remember, right in here is the birthing canal. So when a cow gives birth, you know, we want this to be straight across, so that creates that ease of calving coming out. So that's what we talk about when we talk about ease of calf right here. And of course, this straight back here just makes, you know, if it's straight, it has a nice strong loin. And it's muscular. It's going to produce. Remember, this is the most, when it comes to market animals, this is the most expensive cuts of meat right there. So if you want that to be strong, if there's a sag in the back, that loin is going to be a lot smaller and a lot weaker. So it's going to create this sag right there, and you don't want that. So keep that in mind. So look for straightness in the back, straightness from, we call it hooks to pins, all right? We also want to make sure that all 4 of their feet are facing front. So if you look at it, you don't want a cow that's pigeon-toed or cow-legged. Pigeon-toed, cow-legged is when the feet come out. Pigeon-toed is when the feet come in. So you want them pointing straight across. All right. So also, here is like the shoulder. This is the shoulder of the cow right in here. So what you really want is to make sure that when you look from here, that this is, I guess, you want it to be like a 45 degrees angle right here. So you want that 45-degree angle right there. Just so that, you know, they're standing well on their front feet, because their feet in breeding cattle are important. Feet are extremely important in cattle, so that, you know, they're walking soundly, because otherwise you're going to be spending some money on a vet bill if they don't necessarily walk correctly. And plus, they pass that trait off to their offspring, and you don't want that. So as you get to there, so we want our feet. We also want to make sure that there is the correct, what they call stance in the leg. All right, so this is the correct, so this should come straight up, and then it angles up. Sometimes this whole leg will go, it will look straight. And you don't want that, because then they have a walking problem, and they're not going to walk very well. Also, this angle here. So you got the hoof down here. So another thing that you're going to look, and you might not find it hard to see, is you see where the hoof starts, or we can see where the hairline ends and the hoof starts right here. You want that up. So some cows, they're walking back on they call it kind of like she's walking back on her legs. So that means, in an easy way of telling that is, if this hairline is like almost touching the ground when she's walking, she's got a little bit of a foot issue. Okay, she's not walking up on her feet. She's walking back on her feet. That's going to develop into some leg problems that they're going to develop, which then they might not. Then they're going to have some walking issues, and then we all know as a farmer, we don't want our cows to have walking issues, because she's not going to walk to water, she's not going to walk to feed, okay? She might become extremely lazy and not take care of her calf. So we got all those issues that's coming up. So the ideal here is to make sure, you know, the feet. So overall, when it comes to, I think I got one more to look at here. I have to go back up here for a moment. Okay, that's the second part. So that's growth. So we're gonna, all right. I gotta make sure I hit the right slides today so that I don't confuse you too much. All right, so the next thing is we talk about spring of rib, okay? This is where we determine the length of the body of an animal, okay? We do it from inside the legs. So the longer this is, what we call it, she's long-bodied. Some are short-bodied, some are long-bodied. So if you look here, the longer it is here, okay? Another thing is we're looking to see how depth she is, you know? You know, if she's got sometimes call this part of the cow the barrel. So if she's got a big, wide barrel like this, she's got some growth in her, and that's positive, okay? When you have those cows that have a narrow barrel or a narrow body, I guess some people use, she doesn't have that growth in her, okay? And then yes, and that's a trait that's passed off to their offspring. So you want this to be from, like, if you look here and here, you want this to be wide and very consistent. So sometimes a cow will start wide in the front and then she narrows in the back. Not a positive, okay? We call that kind of, she's unbalanced because she's wide in the front, narrow in the back. That's negative when it comes to selecting. We want this to be very consistent all around here. And then, as you can see on a cow, I always use this part of the cow and this part of the cow. I measure down. This should also line up nicely so that she is standing correctly on her feet. She's not, walking uphill or downhill. You want her to be walking, I call it tell the kiss. She should be walking flat. You don't want her to be walking downhill. All right, so those are some of the stuff that we're gonna look at just for today. So if I jump to a photo here, oh, not that one, this one. All right, I hope you can see it there. I'm trying to oh, you can't really zoom in. I thought you could zoom in here. So we have so this is typical livestock judging. Trying to bring you in closer. It's hard to find photos just because, so typical livestock judging here is, you're gonna get 4 animals and you gotta put them from best to worst quality, just comparing these 4 animals. So let's go ahead and talk through some of this. First thing that you're going to look for, you always start from the top and you look down, and then you start from the front and you look over. Okay, but we're only going to worry about functionality right now. So if we take here and we look across the back here, so for the back here, this is what we consider a pretty flat, straight back right there. If you look at, see, here's her shoulders. If you draw that line, it's a little too up and down, okay? You want more of that 45 degree, so she could be a little cleaner in her shoulder right there, okay? But she is flat, and if you look here, she's got a nice wide body, but look at how short she is. And if you look at number 4 here, look at how long-bodied that is. This is what we call a long body. Look at how short she is. This is a negative, this is a positive, okay? If we go down to number 4 and you compare her, so if I draw a line across the back here, she's not, you probably can't see it very well on the screen, but her pins are a little higher than her hooks. So her hooks are here, her pins are over here. In the photo, you can easily tell that she's got, she's not quite straight, but she's straight in her back. Her shoulder, if you look at her shoulders right here, 45 degree, very nice, okay? She's got a nice depth of body. So if I go across here, she might be a little unbalanced, but not very much. I mean, the little things on this heifer, size-wise, she's small. Size-wise, she's very small. If you can even tell, you should be able to tell how small this one is. And if you look at her legs, see how her legs come up and then they do that angle? That's a thumbs up, okay? If we look here, she comes up and she stays pretty much, she has a little bit, so she just stands a little. She's not a very complete heifer, I should say. She's not very complete here. We're not getting into the muscle yet, but, out of these 4 animals, I honestly would pick number 4 to be my first place heifer, okay? I can clearly put number 2 at the bottom just because she's a smaller animal. She just needs more growth on her. I mean, she just might be a slow maturing cow. It happens. Some cows, just like humans, they will mature slower. She might be even like maybe a month or 2 younger than this heifer here, just because they're big. I do like number 3. I think these 2 are comparable and these 2 are comparable. The only thing I wish with her, she's not very balanced. She is wider in the front. This is when I talk about being wider in the front. She's narrower in the back. So if I was to draw a line across here, see this part here? That should line up with the front, and it doesn't because she's just not. And as you can see, if you look at her, her pins are here, her hooks are here, so she's more angled downward. Some people, if they were judging it, would probably select this one. They would go 4, 1, 3, 2. Remember, sometimes judging is very subjective. So, but in my case, I would go 4, 3, 1, 2. So again, her shoulder is nice and square. Her shoulder is not clean. Remember, her shoulder is more, not so much at that 45. Her shoulder's at the 45. So that's kind of how functionality works in breeding cattle. Is looking at that. So what I would like you to do in this, how would you place them? No, I placed them 4, 3, 1, 2. How would you place them? Just based off what we talked about today, functionality of a breeding animal. So remember, look for straightness in the back. Hooks to pins are lined up. Her shoulder is square. You know, she's standing correctly on her feet. Now, hoof-wise, this grass is long. We can't quite tell. You know, we can't really see her hoofs because the grass is long, so we can't really tell if she's standing up. She's standing, I can just tell by now she's standing a little bit too far back on her back legs. That's something I would probably want we can correct it. But at the same time, these are just photos, so that they probably just took the photo. It's not, you know, sometimes you have to look at that stuff when they're moving, and so when we get to that part, we'll do that. So what I would like you to do is, how would you place this class based off the information that we just talked about? We'll see you tomorrow.